On the sustainable use side, one of the features of the program is its ability to promote a rapid recovery of wildlife populations, making it suitable for people to start harvesting and game themselves. We have now 34 conservancies that have high enough populations of wildlife that they can hunt themselves. Community members are now empowered with the rights to harvest their own game in a highly sustainable fashion. We have trophy hunting concessions that are taking place in 26 of the conservancies, and we have live game captures that are taking place on high-value species from a number of conservancies as well, with the income going back to the community. One of the other key activity that kind of runs in tandem with recovering the resource base in the conservancies is assisting with the reestablishment of game populations and capturing and translocating from private sector farms, from conservancies with high game densities, or from national parks, and taking those to the conservancies that have very low density populations. Since 1998, we've assisted with the translocation of more than 4,000 head of game, and that program's now been institutionalized within the Ministry of Environment and Tourism as an ongoing program. Other areas that are growing in importance are the natural plant products. We're working with communities, and the conservancies perform ideal mechanisms for group marketing or group harvesting of natural plant products like thatching grass for roofs for the tourism industry and lodges and so forth, for devil's claws, for marula, and I think most people here are aware that marula is the basis of amarula. It's quite a marketable commodity, and there are a number of other types of natural plant products that are coming on. Advocacy is another area, strengthening the conservancies so they can be their own advocates and they can promote improvements on policy and legislation that are dynamic and changing with the growth pattern and the needs of the conservancies. As far as some of the, again, impacts, you look at the natural resource base and you say, what have these conservancies done to promote a recovery of wildlife? I talked to you about Salambella Conservancy, that's one area. The Finite Conservancy, this is a San Conservancy, the first one that was formed in 1998. And this area, from 3 different aerial censuses that were conducted by the Ministry of Environment and Tourism, we've seen a 6-fold increase in wildlife populations. We've seen similar and even more impressive results in the western parts of Namibia. Of course, the economics, that's a key part of what's driving this process. People are getting on board because they're getting employment, they're getting wages, they're getting income and benefits out of the program. This is a graph that depicts the income of the program from 1994 when we started collecting data. And what's really of significance are 2 points here, is that the policy environment was such that it allowed the unlocking of these opportunities in 1998, and the first conservancies were formed, and then you see your income going up. And now I lost my thought. I said there were 2, I've given you 1. But, so the policy environment, the second point here is that in terms of the longevity of our project was originally scheduled to run through from 1993 to 1998. And if our project would have ended when it was originally scheduled to end, it would have actually been a failure. Yet USAID, seeing what was happening, was able to give us additional funding and additional funding. And what we got now is a escalating source of income. And that income comes in 3 forms. The blue down there is the collective income to the conservancies. That was about 11 million Namibian dollars last year, about 1.6 million US. The tan area is the employment income. Through the program, we succeeded in creating 790 full-time jobs and over 5,000 part-time jobs in the communal areas. And the upper area up there is the in-kind benefits, which is largely reflected in the meat that's being harvested and going back. This is a picture or a graph that demonstrates the donor investment versus the benefits that are being generated from the program. Again, this tan area back here, or the cream color, that's the total donor investment, not only from USAID, but from government, all donors. And then the marine area is the natural capital growth of the wildlife populations, and the blue area is the net national income benefits that have been generated. And what's of interest here is you see the donor investment. It took about 13 years to get it to a level, about 10 years, where the benefits were actually exceeding the investment. And now we've got a rapidly escalating return on the investment and a declining donor base down there. So this is actually a very strong success story that again reinforces the importance of longer-term investments when you're talking about conservation. Similar lessons learned. Key lessons here is the importance of using incentives as a policy basis and putting carrots out there and letting people themselves decide whether they want to have that carrot or not. If the conservancies would have been forced on people, it would have never succeeded. But instead, it was offered as an incentive. Conflict is part of any development program. We had conflict when the conservancies were first formed. The conflict was actually not created by the conservancies. It was unearthing conflicts that were there for years and years, if not generations, by tribal authorities that could never come to agreement on what the boundaries between different chieftainships were. And what conservancies did was unearth that and led to solutions on that. Working at the grassroots level, again, when you're talking about natural resources, it's very important to consider that you can't manage natural resources from the capital city in a country. Your natural resources are used by people and they need to be managed by the people that are using them. Women's roles, again, the whole CB9 program in Namibia, probably the largest benefactors out of this program have been women. Women are the recipients of about 70% of the employment benefits that come out because of the nature of the tourism industry. Women are now key decision makers on conservancy committees where they compose 35% of the committees on a national level. And women have been put into a lot of leadership positions within NGOs. So there's been a huge shift over the years in the participation of women through the program. Partnerships, again, we've been very successful in this program at producing landscape at large scale, largely because we work through a large number of partners. We build their capacity, we work with them, it's their program, and we support them. Those partnerships are really important to us. Replication, this is something that if you have something that's successful, can you replicate it? The answer here is yes, there's a great possibility of replicating what's happening in Namibia. We've had visitations from 11 different African countries to come down and see our program, see the systems we've developed. More recently, we had people from Cambodia, excuse me. They came for 3 weeks. Next month, we have Mongolia. Next year, we have Ethiopia. We have possibly Madagascar coming. We've had people from the Great Plains program here in the U.S. So we're finding that conservation lessons and tools are developed are very extrapolable across the world. They just have to be adapted to the local conditions.